Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for having me here. It's a real privilege to be able to speak with you this morning. My name's Courtney Simpson. I am the Group Environmental Sustainability Manager at SkyCity. First, I'll just give you a little bit of background about myself, then I'll jump into what we're doing at work. It was ever since I was 6 years old, I'm now 30, that I really just absolutely loved the environment and wrote a song about it at a young age, which I still remember, and I won't sing it to you, I'll save you that. And ever since I was 6, it's really something that has ingrained in me. I'm New Zealand born, but I did grow up in Holland. Holland is a fantastic country of cycleways and brilliant engineering for everything around the environment, so it was really quite ingrained in me. And then I returned to New Zealand and completed my Master of Science in Climate Change at the University of Auckland. And from then I dived straight into work, first for a not-for-profit and then for a smaller company, and then to SkyCity across the road. A lot of people, whenever I speak about climate change and SkyCity, wonder, well, why on earth are those two things together? And I think it's quite important just to note that SkyCity, as many businesses, are made up of people. And I'm very fortunate to work for a company that's made up of people that genuinely care about the environment, in particular climate change. And that starts from our CEO, Graham Stevens, to our chairman of our board, Rob Campbell, and then throughout our business as well. And I'm truly grateful to have that type of leadership in the space that I work. So I'll give you a bit of background about what we're doing and hopefully a bit of hope that businesses are doing quite a bit, so we don't need to rely just on ourselves doing our way, and also government and the carbon bill, which I believe you heard about last weekend. So we began by measuring our carbon footprint, which is our impact on the environment. We've done that for the past 4 years, and we've reduced significantly in that time in terms of our carbon footprint, but it really wasn't enough. So we sat down, it was myself and the CEO, funnily enough. When you think about a business like SkyCity, you probably wouldn't think of the CEO and the sustainability manager sitting down for meetings talking about climate change, but we do. And we decided, well, we do have an impact. We're definitely not the biggest, but we do emit carbon, and what should we do about it? So we thought, well, we'll impose a tax on ourselves, which is probably another odd thing that businesses would do, is give themselves extra tax. So we decided to price our carbon at the same price as what the government has set, at $25 a tonne. But instead of paying $25 a tonne to go carbon neutral, we're doing that at $7 a tonne through a mixture of projects internationally and in New Zealand. We will be announcing that we are a carbon neutral business very, very shortly, which is something I'm proud of. And from the remainder of that $25, that 3/4 that goes into a green fund that we're using to engage with our staff to make reductions around our properties. Just a bit of background about SkyCity. We do have our Auckland properties and facilities in Hamilton, Queenstown, and also in Adelaide, Australia, with expanding in the hotel space. So with that charge, it's really given quite a bit of engagement throughout the business, particularly in our finance teams, about how we're going to reduce, because nobody wants to keep the charge going, which is fantastic. That's the whole point on it. So we're really engaging with our staff at the moment for them to propose projects for those reductions. One of which will be looking in our Hamilton site and switching over all of our gas cooking to induction, which is electric, which will reduce our carbon from that property by 17%, which is quite a lot. But we go through nearly about 20,000 tonnes of carbon a year, just to give you a sense of the scale. So it is quite a lot of carbon. I myself am carbon neutral. I've measured my own carbon footprint, and I sit around 15 tonnes. which is quite funny when you talk about weight. So I weigh 15 tonnes, but that's my impact on the environment. And so looking to reduce, when I measured mine, and I saw that my car was 23% of my carbon footprint, a little light Suzuki Swift, I decided to go out and purchase an electric vehicle, which will then considerably reduce my carbon footprint. And unfortunately, my flights to see my parents in the States really ramp it up, and I love seeing them too much to avoid flying, but being able to offset is also a treat, because it does allow you to balance what you emit to what you can do to reduce your impact. Another thing that Sky City has done, which you may have seen in the news, we are keeping the Gideon's Bible that was slightly misrepresented in our hotel rooms, but we're also adding a climate change book called Drawdown. The reason we're doing that is to really engage our guests so that when they arrive at their carbon neutral hotel, then they can educate themselves, if they wish to do so, on climate change and the solutions that are available. We've also created the first verified, scientifically measured low carbon menu, which we offer up the tower, and that's something for our customers to also be engaged with, so that they can stay in a carbon neutral hotel and they can dine low carbon if they wish to do so. We'll also be providing them with tools on measuring their carbon footprint and giving them the tools to offset if they want to do that for their travel to and from our property as well. And as well as all the projects around site, it's getting a bit exciting. So at our board level, we have a sustainability committee, and I meet with them quarterly, as well as regular email threads on climate change these days, and give them updates on what the business is doing. And then within the business itself, we have a climate change committee, which is of our senior leadership team, and our chief financial officer is a part of that, who's a very key person with everything in terms of climate change, just to get the drive really going within the business, and also other finance and property service people. And we also have a green fund committee, which the staff projects will go through to for them to be assessed and then implemented to get those reductions going. And the good thing about what we're doing as a business is that other businesses are also doing this. We've set internationally accredited science-based targets for our reductions. We have a 38% reduction in our electricity and gas emissions, which is our biggest proportion of our carbon footprint, 38% by 2030. And that's in line with well below 2 degrees of warming, to get us to well below, to 1.5 degree of warming, which was highlighted in the recent UN report. That's a 67% reduction for us. So there's a lot of work to do in the next coming years, but with our partners in business, we can really hopefully make that change. And I think Rod spoke with you about the Climate Leaders Coalition and the gathering of businesses, but that's now over nearly 120 businesses that have signed up to committing to climate change action. And the funny thing is that my CEO has really become a bit of a climate change consultant these days, and he's been going into different businesses and speaking with their CEOs and their senior leadership teams on what could be done around climate change and where partnerships can happen. There is a beer, actually, that is now carbon neutral through Lion as well. There's also carbon neutral water. So it's really getting quite a lot of momentum, and we're aiming to partner as much as possible with those businesses to help them out as well as power companies and the ones that are definitely going towards electricity and electrifying our grid, so that all of our carbon footprints can go down a little bit more as we get away from gas. So I think there is optimism in this space. There's a lot of work being done, particularly in businesses. I can't stress enough how much of a treadmill it is for the likes of people like me and businesses really trying to drive the change, and also with our senior exec teams and our boards. So hopefully with government and businesses, New Zealand will be a country that will get to our goals of 1.5 degrees and carbon neutrality fairly quickly. And that's all I came here to say, but thank you very much for listening, and I really appreciate it this morning.